I hear us on the background a little bit. All right. So, hey guys, I think we are live in Stay Wild Child. And this is episode, or well, actually, we're not calling it episode any longer. We are calling it Conversations with Stay Wild Child. I'm Nicole. I'm your host with Stay Wild Child, and this is conversation number 30, which is good. So, today, I get to have a great face-to-face conversation with Marci Pruitt. And here's the cool thing. We've talked on the phone a couple times and we have sent instant messages back and forth. And Marci, you're actually going to have to remind me how we met in the first place. But we've become friends over social media, which is pretty cool. I love that because, you just kind of start finding when you're jiving with somebody and you're kind of speaking the same kind of language and all of that. And we're both Texas girls. We don't live that far really from one another. And so how did we end up? So I know that you're part of our Stay Wild Child group, and that's probably how we started interacting to begin with. Did somebody add you to the group?
Yeah, Kylie added me to the group. And so
great.
That's how we met. And Kylie and I met through another friend, Mandy. And so, and I went down, gosh, I guess it's been a year already since I've met her, went down and got a Reiki session from her. And that started my process. And yeah, it's been very, very cool.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so we met through Kylie. I love Kylie. Yeah, she's definitely a beacon of light down in Georgetown, Texas. And so, oh, that's great. Okay, so Marci is part of our Stay Wild Child group. And, we just started connecting basically on social media. And I loved the input that she's had in our Stay Wild Child girl gang. And I asked her to be a part of the conversation. And I love, Marci, kind of the way that I like to do this is, I think that sometimes women can look at other women and maybe you kind of like perceive a place that maybe somebody is in their life by, what you're seeing in front of them now, right? And so it's, we have like, okay, so they didn't go through any struggle, right? Their life was, kind of a cakewalk. That's kind of just the thing that you think, and especially on social media, because, not all the time is everybody airing, all of their dirty laundry, if you will, on social media, that type of thing. And so, take us back just a little bit. Our group is helping women remember who they are before the world told them who they were supposed to be. And I know that always comes with a background story. And so take us back just a little bit. What was going on with you kind of before, I don't know, you're at the place you are now, Reiki master, and we'll get on to all that in just a minute. But take us back just a little bit in your journey.
Well, it's quite interesting. I was going through it in my shamanism class yesterday, and my teacher actually thought I grew up in the church. I did not. I was baptized Methodist, but my mom kind of dropped the church life because back in the, I guess it was 50s or 40s, whenever her parents got divorced, they shunned them. So she always taught us that Jesus preached outside. So there's no reason for a church. And so that's how we grew up. And she raised my brother and I very intuitive, empathically, without even realizing, because she was a hippie,
Yeah.
And she and my dad was the same way, even though he wasn't really in the picture a whole lot because they were divorced or whatever. But they were very hands-on, very supportive, let us be our individual selves, and kind of just guided us that way. Well, then I met my husband. We got married. It took us forever to have a child. We finally had a child, and then my mom passed away. Like before our son was 1, and that put me in a spiral, in a different need. As one of my friends so graciously told me one day, I was like, oh, and she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it's absolutely true. She said, ever since your mom died, you've been looking for that unconditional love. And so I got into a very fundamental type church and very suppressive. And it was a lesson I needed. I mean, obviously, you know,
Of
we
course.
agree to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we do.
So in that, of course, while I'm in it, I'm thinking everybody's against me. I'm this worst person. Why is everybody, you know, bullying me or whatever and telling me I'm so horrible? And I really like went deep within and I shut down a whole lot. To the point of I was extremely numb. Even like the slightest touch on my arm or whatever hurt to the bone. It was the weirdest thing. Then my dad died, and that pulled me out.
Mm.
And my dad and I always had extremely deep conversations, hours and hours. He grew up Methodist, and then he went into searching out our ancestry. Found out we had a little bit of Native American blood, and he went that direction. He went down his red path and really investigated that area. So we would talk deeply. I was all, no, it's Jesus only. And he was like, well, that's great spirit. And it was amazing conversations.
Sure.
And then after he passed, my mind just opened up. Obviously, I went into deep, deep, deep grief. That was my, what is that called? Dark night of the soul.
Dark night of the soul. Yeah.
Yeah, that was that time for me for 3 years.
Oh,
Because when it started, I told myself, I've got to let this happen because I did not when my mom died because I had a baby to raise. It was like I cried for 24 hours. Okay, that's it. I'm done. We got to raise a kid, you know, type attitude. And what I found during that grief period was I didn't grieve at all for my mom. And so the first year I spent grieving for my dad. The second year was my mom. The third year was all the mean people, you know, and just digging that out and releasing all of that. And I came out one day, actually, I was doing yoga on my porch. And this is a pretty amazing story. I was doing yoga
okay.
on my porch and I kept asking my husband, am I going to hell? Am I going to be okay doing yoga? And he's like, really? No, you'll be fine. And so I sat down, hadn't talked to God in 3 years, 3, 4 years, because I was mad.
You're
Because
mad,
in
right?
yeah, in the religion I was in, it has to be this way. And if it's not
Right.
this way, then you're not getting to heaven. Sorry. And so I was mad at God because my dad was not this way. In fact, one day I told him, if you're not baptized in this specific way, you're going to hell, Dad. And he looked at me and he was like, no, I'm fine. Really, I promise you. And so that day I sat down and I said, okay, God, I need to know, are you in this box or
Mhm.
are you like this? Are you love and light? Are you vibrations? Are you energy? What what are you?
Right.
And I kid you not, he goes, what does it say in John? Girl, I rolled my eyes so big. I'm like, really? You're going to bring scripture to me? So I'm running it through my head. And I went, oh, wait a minute. It says you're love. And he went, yep. And I go, oh, it says you're light. You were light at the beginning. You're love and light. And I'm not even lying. There was no wind. And a little of wind went by. And I was like, okay, that was cool. And he goes, wait, what did I do in the beginning? And I said, you created? How? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm thinking and thinking. I finally get to the revelation. Oh my gosh, you spoke, which is vibration. It's energy. And a huge gust of wind went by. And I was like, oh, Mufasa, that was so cool. So he basically told me he is this everything. You know, if he's omnipresent, omnipotent, all of this, he's everywhere all the time through all time, dimensions, realities. And I was just blown away. So then I was like, okay, I'm okay for this. And then that journey began. And I still had to go through old patterns and, unlock and
And
release a
learning.
whole bunch of, hmm and I had, a new yoga studio had opened up in my area called Zen Den, and it's an amazing place. And they had this great perception to help people with yoga and their spirituality and all this. And they had Reiki. And I was like, what is that? It took
Right.
me 6 months to a year before I started that path. But I would dabble, like put my toe in this way and go, no, I'm still thinking old pattern way, and we're just gonna wait. And they were very gracious. It's been an amazing and fast tracked journey so far.
How many years do you think? When did your mom pass away?
My mom passed away. Peyton was born in 2002. She passed away 2003.
2003. So did your dad die, did you say 3 years later?
He died in 2015.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you didn't grieve for your mom until after your dad had passed away.
Right. A
Mm.
long time after. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting how we feel like, we don't want, our kids to see us sad or see us
Yeah.
grieve. We just have to keep moving forward, and we don't allow ourselves that space, and we don't
Oh,
allow
absolutely.
ourselves to feel those things, because we feel like if that happens, then I don't know, I don't know if it's this belief system or this programming that says we have to stay strong for our kids. And I'm assuming that's, you're like, I don't have time for this, right?
Yeah.
I got to keep moving. I got a little one here, right?
Right. Right. Well, and I didn't know how to grieve either.
Mm. Right.
I mean, how do you grieve? Okay, I cried. I cried for 24 hours. I'm good. You don't
Yeah.
know that there's a whole kit and caboodle of emotions, and it's not just, okay, I did this. Okay, I did that. It's like, this.
Yeah. It's like that.
Even that.
It's like the female brain, the spaghetti brain.
Absolutely. And
Everything connects. Mhm.
it was the other day, Saturday, I think we were in a class, and I found myself wishing for my parents because I didn't know an answer to something. And all of a sudden, I just felt their presence, and I just started bawling. And it's been years. And I just knew, which made me cry more because then I know that they're really there, right?
There.
And it's so cool. What's really cool is I felt last night, as a matter of fact, an energy shift, like major. My ears always ring,
Mm.
and
Too.
suddenly something passed, like this way, and they stopped, and it was not a heavy, but you could feel it. And about an hour later, my brother called and said, I'm having an overwhelming, I need mom and dad right now. And I was like, whoa, that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. And then he goes, oh my God, Marci, they're here. And I was like, of course they are.
Oh,
So they were coming by, hey, I'm here to see you. Okay, now we got to go see Todd, kind of thing. It was really, really, really cool.
what a gift that is, and what a gift that you can acknowledge that, because I know I was my grandfather, he would have been 100. Yes, I think it was yesterday. He would have been 100 years old, and so my aunt
Wow.
had posted something about him on social media, and he's been gone for 5 or 6 years now, around
Mm.
about. He lived, well into his 90s, and he loved feeding the birds. And so I love to feed the birds as well. And so I always, anytime I'm feeding the birds, I think of my grandfather. Now, he didn't like the squirrels. I like the squirrels, but he was always shooing the squirrels off. But every time, it's just these, when the sunset is a certain color and it goes across the lake and it's just that certain color, it reminds me of my Mimi, my great grandmother. And I love that. I see this in you, Marci, that you have come to a place where you're able to slow down and listen, right? Because we get so full in our lives and we pack our schedules so much that we don't have time to witness these beautiful occurrences, like, you know, your parents, you know, being there with you. So it's really a gift when you're able to experience those types of things.
It's amazing how going through some of the trials and the things that we, you know, agreed upon to go through, which was a hard thing for me. Like even yesterday, I asked my teacher, wait, I agreed to have those crappy people in my life, and she's like, well, no, but you agreed to the movie. You agreed to the part in that movie they assigned on as the other characters, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, but in that time, I learned unconditional love. You know, once I left, I learned unconditional love, complete acceptance of everything, immense love. And I mean, isn't that what God or Jesus talks about is love? And there's
Absolutely.
so much love that is needed right now in this time, that if everybody would just take maybe even 5 minutes, pray, meditate, whatever it is you do, and just go inward first and then send it out, you know, we would probably kill all this junk that's going around. I'm trying to put it nicely. So it's just,
It's,
oh
I know
gosh, it
it's,
reminds me of that song
what is
long
it?
ago. What the world needs now is
Is love.
love, sweet love.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean, and really it's, you know, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, I think, when, you know, everybody's in a different stage in their growth.
mm-hmm.
And it's when you're, and sometimes when you're going through it, and especially when it's, I think there's probably multiple dark nights of the soul. There's multiple times where, you know, things can kind of knock you off track. And then you know, you just kind of breathe in and take some time for yourself and, you know, indulge in that self-care and that self-love, and you get back on the path, you know, that much faster. And that just kind of keeps happening for you. It's, you fall off a little bit and you kind of get back on the path. But I think that, you know, this is going to be a big year for a lot of people going through that dark night of the soul. And I think that
Yeah.
that's why you're here, why I'm here, is to just, you know, let everybody know, hey, it's okay. You're going to get through it. And those
Yeah.
little disturbances in your energy field, they become shorter and fewer and further between. But it's just the, you know, taking those steps forward and trusting and letting go of the perceived control that so many think that they need to hold on to control to get through
Yeah.
it. And when you let go, golly, it's so freeing.
And isn't that the thing that it's always something we think, "Oh, this is what I need. I've got to have it. I got to have it. I got to have it." But yet, if we just let it go, then it actually comes even more. And that's a hard thing to realize. It's like I call it verbiage. You know, there's this specific verb. It's just verbiage. Whether you say empath or discernment or intuition, or, you know, it's verbiage.
Yeah,
Um, a great mentor named Bear taught us that, and it's, man, it's had power. Within,
yeah,
I think we've known him 2 years now, and it's just been phenomenal to think, oh wow, that is just verbiage. It's just, you know, it means all the same.
it's
It's
all the
just
same.
wherever it comes from, you know.
It's like, yeah, it's, you know, some call it universe, some call it God, some call it source, some call source energy. It's all the same.
Exactly.
Jesus, I mean, everything, everything's intertwined, and it's all just about love. And that was,
Yes.
I think the religious piece for me, that was something I always kind of struggled with was, okay, so Jesus is love and God is love, then why are we judging? Um, right? Like, why is it if you don't accept Jesus in your heart that you're going to go to hell? I mean, right? Like, I don't know. So that was the
Yeah.
part that was always a real struggle for me. And then when I realized that, everything is connected and everything is love, and
Mm-hmm.
and the great, church religion, that type of thing, it's a great path for a lot of people because I mean, it truly is. It helps people. And right now, especially when there's so many things going on in the world, and so that they've kind of taken church away from a lot of people, and that's something that really helps keep people focused and on track. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and so it
And they,
serves an amazing purpose.
yeah, they feel lost now because they
I
don't
do.
have that fellowship, as they call
Yeah,
it, or that bonding, that it's a place for them to go and to belong and to learn. And that's remarkable. It's amazing. One of the things Doug and I discovered when we left was that if the greatest commandment is to love God, and the second one is to love your neighbor as yourself, but what happens if you don't love yourself?
right.
It's got to start within so that you can spread it out. And the gospel is actually just spreading love, and how to love. Another thing I discovered later on just blew my mind away is that the Bible talks about a personal relationship. So that means it's all about me and him. It's not about me and my pastor, my the congregation, and what I have to tell them all. No, it's just me and him. So
Right.
whatever I call him, God, Odin, source, universe, whatever, is up to me.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's my
girl.
thought anyway.
Oh, yeah, totally, totally. It's you fill your cup, and so therefore you're good for everybody else. And yeah, I'm a big
Exactly.
believer in that for sure. And that took me a long time to wrap my head around because for so long I thought that it was selfish to take care of myself first.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
I thought that I had to give and give and give, and I was stuck in people pleasing mode for a really long time. And that was kind of how I felt loved, was by taking care of other people. And then I realized that that was a wound, and I went in
Right.
and yeah,
Oh, those wounds.
those wounds, right? Yeah, I realized, okay, so it's not selfish to take care of myself, and again, the verbiage thing, selfish is labeled as such a bad word, and it's really it's not. It's just how
Mm,
others perceive it, and it's when we take care of ourselves, we're good for everybody else. So, and that's
exactly.
not selfish.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, so what got you? You said that you were in yoga, which is actually how I started as well. Being with myself on my mat and, stopping that kind of that chatter. Shavasana was like mind
Hmm.
blowing to me. I'm like,
Right.
you want me to close? You want me to stop that chatter for 5 minutes? What? So that
Right.
was a really
Right.
good practice for me. So that's where it started for me as well. And I got the same question. You're switching religions? And I'm like, it's yoga.
Yeah, it's yoga, it's stretching, which is really actually funny because before I was like, oh, it's evil. You can't do yoga. That's like Eastern. You're drumming up all the, you know, gods from that area. Okay, well, they're all the same. I've, learned.
Yeah.
So I got into yoga, and actually I was doing yoga outside on my porch through YouTube, and found some really good stuff there because, it was hush hush. I still, was like one way at home, and then I'd go out and have to be that, and
Yeah.
so, um, the more I ventured out and went to Zindan and did their trapeze class, which was one of my favorite classes ever. The more I learned. And the more of that energy and those people, the more I learned, and the more I learned about myself. And I still at that time was trying to be what they needed instead of actually being my authentic self. But
Right.
they helped tear down those walls. Like once I told my story, oh, I don't know, the 10th time, I think the director of, or the owner of Zindan was like, that's it, quit bringing it up. She kind of slapped me, not really slapped me in the
Of
face, but
course.
was like, stop.
You're saying the same thing over and over again.
Yes, you're saying the
The
same thing,
story's
and
on repeat.
you're
Right.
yeah, you're pulling it up into your future. Quit
Right.
that. Um, and then I, I don't know. I was like battling between where do I go? Who do I take from? And what does it mean? I mean, I really had to dig deep because those patterns, those thoughts were like so embedded that I had to
Right.
make sure I was doing the right thing. Um, and I found holy fire Reiki, which to me, I was like, okay, it says holy, so we're going that direction. And the really cool thing about William Rand is that he actually sat and meditated and says that he got guidance from Jesus about holy fire and got the symbols from him. So that really connected me because it's just part of me. And so I went that direction and took from Wanda Traverse Warren. I think that's how, maybe I said it backwards. I don't know. She's a great teacher, and Patricia Lang.
Mm.
And they co-taught, and that was phenomenal. And I walked into the first class. I'm not even gonna lie. Walked into the first class, and I was so timid. And I'm going, okay, don't put your guard up. Don't put your guard up. Let it down. Let it down. And I walked in. I'm like, guard up. I don't know these people. I never would go out on my own. Like I always had to have my husband with me during, between the desks. My husband was my security blanket. And I just was so insecure and so um unsure of everything because that hole was just so big and overwhelming and dark. Um, but when I walked into that room and I saw the other people, I kind of relaxed, and I knew Patricia, so I was like, okay, I know you a little. I'll just sit by you and I'll be safe. Well, as the time went on and we learned, it eased a whole lot. Um, then the next day, it was a 2-day process because Holy Fire, they teach 1 and 2 together. Um, because all the ignitions or attunements are the next day.
Okay.
So then on day 2, Sunday, we had hands on. And I thought I was good. And then I see everybody doing their thing, and I'm thinking, oh, great, I suck. I don't feel this. I can't do this. I don't feel anything. They're so much better because there was this one guy who had an amazing not past life, but like previous to coming in the class. He's a ghost hunter, or was a ghost hunter.
Okay.
And he
So he's a little more
really
open
does.
to the concept.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much open. He would
Right.
sit there and look at the person like this and go, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I was like,
Oh,
okay, I can't do that. I'm not good enough for this, instantly. And I'm like,
right.
gosh, shut it down. It's okay. Well, it turns out the last person that we all did our Reiki on, and at the last, it's getting to
Now
know
connected to
your
iPhone.
energy. And
Sorry, my
okay.
Alexa is freaking out a little bit. We're good. I can still hear you.
Yeah, mine did that too. I'm like, shut up, Siri.
Yeah.
um but anyway, she said, Wanda told me, okay, you sit at the head and you just concentrate on that. And she went to his feet, and she looked up and she goes, Marci, I'm gonna tell you, your energy is powerful. I can feel it through his big toe. And I went, really? Because you have this perception in your head that you have
Oh,
to feel this certain thing, electricity, or I don't even know what, that
Right.
it's got to be this way. Boy, did that blow my whole in the box thinking. So with each class, I went to Reiki 1 and 2, and then in January I did my master's class. I've since upgraded from Holy Fire 1 to Holy Fire 3, and each class or ignition is completely different.
Mm.
Each time I've gone up, old pattern thinking, I still go, oh, well, this really won't work, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Totally wrong. Totally wrong. I can feel it so much more now. It's just like getting used to your own energy and your
Yes.
own stuff. Um, that even, let's see, when was it? About 2 weeks ago, maybe even a week ago, I had an Akashic record reading.
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool.
Oh, that was amazing. But what's funny about that is she told me that your guides are saying you need to ground more. And I'm like, why does everybody keep telling me that? But it's funny because even my mom at a young age would say, you live with rose colored glasses, you walk to the beat of your own drum, and at first when you're little you take that in a bad way. But now I go, oh, I live up here. I need to
Yeah,
come down, and be grounded, and more
I do too,
things,
sister.
yeah, more things will open up,
Yeah.
and it's so I sat after we had that session. I sat outside and I called my power back to me, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, like I've never felt before. And I sat there in this bubbly, beautiful, glittery, just energetic energy going, that's mine. Are you kidding me? That's mine? And I started bawling because I had no clue. And my spirit was like, yeah, that's who you are.
Right.
That's why you need to ground. So you have this with you. It protects you, it guides you. We're here for you. And I just, oh, it was so overwhelming. It was so beautiful and so overwhelming. And, I wake up in the morning, my feet hit the floor and I'm off, and I go, oh, wait, I didn't ground. Where's my energy,
Mm-hmm.
But it's something to get used to. Um, so that's where I'm at now, is just learning about trying to stay grounded. It's probably going to be a never ending thing.
Sure.
And just use my Reiki for, obviously, for good, for the light. That's my drive, my love. And I'm teaching my very first class, Reiki 1 and 2, August 22nd and 23rd at my best friend's studio at Namaste Yoga in Granbury. And
Really? How cool is
yeah,
that?
it's exciting. I'm like, I still go, oh gosh, can I do this? Okay,
Of
walk
course you
through
can.
that doubt. Yeah, I know. I've been trained. I can do this. It's all right. It's all good. But eventually, that knee jerk reaction, that knee jerk doubt will be gone. So,
I think, you talked about, we put ourselves in these boxes and
mm,
we think that something is going to look a certain way. And I've shared this on several of our Stay Wild Child conversations here recently. Can you hear me okay?
mhm,
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
perfectly.
My speaker switched while we were talking, so I wanted to make sure
Oh,
my microphone didn't go off too. But I've said this on a few conversations with Stay Wild Child, but during this shelter in place, I feel like I've had a lot of upgrades during this time.
yeah.
And I remember getting out of the tub, and I do a lot of ritual type baths where, I release, things in the tub, or I, like use full moon water that I've charged, and, I'll use all kinds of good salts and candles. And so I make it
Yes,
real,
yes.
most of the time I make my baths ritualistic. And I remember getting out of the tub, and Andrea, I take these intuitive happy hour classes from Andrea. And the reason she teaches these classes is simply because everyone has a different way of interpreting things, right? Everybody has a different way of interpreting their intuitive gifts. And, and some is, they can really get visuals, and, some is like really kind of audible almost. And it sounds like you've had some audible things happen. Mine is, tends to be more of like a feeling, like I, just kind of feel that it's right. And, everybody has these different gifts, but I love her intuitive happy hours because it really just allows us to, like, it's all right. If you're feeling it, if you're sensing it, if you're knowing it, it's all right. It's all in the right direction. And so I remember after this bath, she had talked about closing your aura whenever you got out of the tub. And so I was getting out of the tub, and I started, just kind of like, kind of closing my aura up after I'd taken a salt bath. And I had this knowing. And this knowing was that I received downloads all of the time. And for some reason, I'm sure you've heard intuitive, speakers talk about downloads. They get these downloads. I thought a download was like some kind of like geometry or, calculus equation. Like, I thought there was like some like math sequence that they went in and then deciphered. I didn't know a download was just a knowing because I put it in my box. I thought it had to be like super complicated. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how we box ourselves in, and the more we practice at this, and the more we let go of control, and the more we recognize our magic, it starts to show up, right? More and more. And it's because I use that hashtag, we're all just practicing together. And it just gives us the opportunity to just continue to step into our own unique power. And so very proud of you teaching your first Reiki class. This is incredible. You'll have to put, when we finish, if you've got a link yet for the studio or the sign up thing, you'll have to put it in this conversation. If anybody's kind of out in your area and has been looking at, taking Reiki, because that's incredible. So just quickly, are you doing Reiki healing sessions for people, or are you, what are you doing right now with it other than
right now? Right now I'm doing one-on-one sessions and stuff. I think Kylie and I have vaguely talked about doing a group session between her and I and somebody else, and it's really phenomenal because we'll take a bunch of names and then contact each other and go, okay, at this time start. And we just go over the names. And the first time we did that, we had some fantastic results. I believe one lady said she had a fever. This was before all this junk. Had a fever and felt like she was getting sick. And then during the session, she started sweating. She was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so hot. What is going on? She thought she was having a hot flash. And then her fever was gone.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, that was when I was brand new. And it was amazing because it shocked me, I guess. I'm like, wait, what? We can do that?
Was it distant healing, or was it in person?
It was all distance.
It's amazing. That energy.
I know.
Right?
It's just so incredible. And one thing that I know, when my very first class, when I got attuned, a lot of my friends had been attuned, and they said, okay, expect this, expect that. And so I'm expecting this, unicorns to be flying out of the sky and the world to crack open. Nothing happened like that on the way home. I was perfectly fine. And I'm going, maybe it didn't work.
Right.
God, that comparison can be so evil sometimes.
And those expectations. And those shoulds.
Oh, yeah. So during my attunement, what I felt was really beautiful. It was such a confirmation for me. So in my previous religious life, they believed in the holy baptism of the Holy Ghost, which is a phenomenal thing upon itself. And I remember asking one day, do you feel like, to me, every time I was ignited with the Holy Ghost or whatever during church service, it felt like, do you remember that movie or that show, The Highlander?
Mm.
And there could be only one, and he had the quickening or whatever. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it felt like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just like electricity running through. So I would ask, when you get the Holy Ghost, does it feel like this to you? And I got the strangest looks. I kid you not. And I was like, oh, okay, I won't say that.
Right.
But when I was attuned with Reiki, that's exactly what I felt. So I knew that I knew that I knew that it was a God thing.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful and such a aha moment that I was like, wow, it's like bringing worlds together,
Yeah.
and it was really, really, really cool. My second class, my master class, they go by ignitions instead of attunements because you've already been attuned. They just have to turn them on. That's done through meditation. And during that time, I was like, okay, well, I can't meditate with all these people around. Nothing's really going to happen. One day I will learn. When I say, oh, that never happens to me, I get these grandeur things
Right.
every single meditation I did. I'm like, oh, well, I saw this, and this color dragon and that color dragon, and it was in ancient Japan and blah, blah, blah. And they're going, I had nothing like that. What are
Right.
you talking about? And I'm like, oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that was cool too. So, yeah, it's been quite an amazing journey. Even I'm sitting here thinking, when I put this live on my page, oh my gosh, who's gonna listen and who's gonna think weird of me? You know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
I
I
am
don't. I don't
weird
really.
and
I
I'm
don't really
wild
care
and I
anymore.
don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really care either any longer, and because I know it's all about God and it's all about love,
Exactly.
and if there's some preconceived judgment that's carried with that, that's really about you. It has
Him.
it's nothing to do with
Mhm.
me, because
Exactly.
I don't know, something was clicking off again. So here's
Now connected to John's iPhone.
Oh, okay. So my
Okay,
husband
great.
is playing around with the Alexa in the other room. It's exactly what's happening. Hold on just a second here. Sorry. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Oh, oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh, sweet,
I'm
sweet
unplugging
Alexa.
it. Okay. It was playing ACDC. Na 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 na. Yeah, I just
That's our sign that it doesn't matter.
that's right.
It just doesn't
It
majust
just really doesn't, and that's always what I want my message to be. And I always want it's just it's acceptance, and it's God, and it's love, and and whatever way you choose to get there is great,
Exactly.
and it's a deep dive into self and accepting yourself and loving yourself. And we are all these incredible beings, and we have this opportunity. We're in this human experience, but we have this opportunity to share our energy, and energy is so
Yes.
powerful.
Oh
And
my
when
gosh,
we
yes.
when we turn it on, and when we share it, and everybody shares it in different ways. You're using energy Reiki through your hands, and I'm using it through my voice, and we all have these gifts and this soul purpose on what we're here for. And the more that you step into that purpose, the more expansion comes, the more awareness comes, this intention, this like celebration of life. And I see there's some shit going on in the world right now, but I see it, but it
Yeah.
just doesn't hit me like it probably would have. It just doesn't hit me
Right.
like it used to. I
Right.
see it, and I want to bring light into it, but it's not knocking me down. So
Yeah, same. It's funny when I started this and everybody was like, don't watch the news, don't do this, don't do that. I had to stop and think because I stopped watching the news before we had our child. Way back when we lived in Austin, even because it was just such like bad news after bad news after bad news, and I it just made me feel yucky. So I turned it off. And I haven't watched the news for, gosh, 30 years maybe. And then when I got into this particular religion, they don't believe in watching TV,
oh,
which at sometimes you go, oh, wait,
okay,
really?
well,
But
but it kind of makes sense.
it does. It makes
Yeah.
absolute sense. And, you know, their theories, their thought processes are all good and right. They
Right.
just take it a little bit
Too far.
much.
It's the
you know?
rules. Right. It's all,
Yes, yeah. I mean,
not as much
there's good,
freedom.
yeah, and I get the good reason to
Yeah.
pull yourself away from the world,
I
but
agree.
yet we have to send that love energy back into the world. That's, that's what it's about. And we still don't have TV today. We just do Netflix and Hulu and all of that. And I don't miss it. I don't miss the stupid commercials and all of the junk that's on there, the news. I know it's there like you. I know that there's evil in the world and evil is abound right now. But again, if we just all concentrate and focus on loving ourselves and loving one another, man, what a difference we could make.
Yeah. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah. But remember to love yourself.
Exactly. I think that's the big part is I think that a lot of people have stepped away from that self-love. It's it really is a breaking of a pattern of, and I still find myself doing it. We just had a picture. We hosted a wedding over to our house last week, I think. I'm off on time right now. But I think it was last week we hosted a wedding, and there was a picture of me and some of my girlfriends, and I have a nose ring, and I'm like, wow, my nose ring was really glowing. It just felt like it was like glowing. And I immediately went to kind of picking on myself, and the girls, we were all in a group text message, and they all did too. It's just this habit of that you fall into of, I don't know, maybe you do it to
Shaming
make others feel
yourself.
comfortable or whatever. It's just, but I definitely have tried to break up with that pattern, and I just have to, it's a continual practice for me because it was so many years of that, picking on yourself, right? Because, maybe you're trying to make others feel comfortable or whatever that is. So you mentioned when we first started chatting, you mentioned about shaman school. So tell me what shaman school is about.
So Zindan has Dharma Gaines, who teaches shamanism, and it was another one of those, I don't know about that, kind of things.
Right.
But
yeah. Because you think of, you label a shaman as, somebody in a different religion, a different culture, and possibly, maybe some like calling into spirits and things. And so it makes you, we have this view, right? Yeah, I understand.
My view was from the religious. It's witchcraft.
Voodoo.
It's it's not good. It's evil, and the more I felt my dad. Now I live on 40 acres out here in Granbury. And
nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I guess it was about 30 years ago when we started building here. My dad came out and he said, "I'll be back." And he took his pipe and he went walking. Oh. And he was gone for a long time, and he came back and he goes, "Now, Marci, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want you to be afraid." And I was like, "Okay, what are you about to say?" He goes, "You have 5 chiefs out here, and I have conversated with them, and they have agreed to allow y'all on the land, and they will bless you and they will protect you. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's almost like, what you talking about, Willis?
Yeah.
um, and he was like, well, I looked outside. I'm like, I don't see any. And he's like, they're spirits. And he saw me go, what? And he's like, I told you, don't be afraid. They're great. They're here to protect you. And so once I found that out, we did research the Comanche Peak. Yes, I had to look at my husband.
Yeah.
Comanche Peak is like um, southeast of town, southwest of town. I'm sorry, and they lived here on the land because the lake is just right there. And they used to find a whole bunch of arrowheads out here and whatnot. So after my dad told me that, we smelled sage all the time. And so once I started really thinking about that and taking it in and feeling my dad and allowing the chiefs to help me with things, I thought, why not? I need to learn. I need to learn this. And this has only been my third class,
Okay.
and we're having ceremony, I think, in September, which is another big, huge step for me. And it's going to change my life.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those ones that I come back going, why was I afraid? I just know it. But my heart, my my little child is like, no, don't go
Right.
do that. We have to stay here in our safety zone. You can't take Doug, you can't take your dog. But it's been very, very, very fun. A lot of study to get to know what I need, and to take on this journey to ceremony, and how to utilize it for myself, for self growth and self love and appreciation, and appreciate everything that's around me. But even from the dreadful spiders that I cannot stand, there's a reason for them.
Right.
They do good. I don't
Mhm.
know what it is, but it's something. And it's just fun. I'm really just having fun,
Yeah.
getting to know myself and getting to know, you know, step into those fears and overcoming them and realizing they're just a
Yeah.
block. It's just a block.
Yeah. It's just,
So
yeah, it's just that box we put ourselves inside. And
yeah,
for me, it's this constant unlearning and this constant letting go.
yes,
And Zoe was on I don't know if you watched last week, but Zoe, she's an energy healer. Oh, by the way, I was supposed to announce our who won for sharing the video. It was actually you.
really.
Marci, I hadn't even told you yet. I'm so sorry.
Woohoo!
Yes, so you're winning an energy. So
Woohoo!
it's really cool. And so I did it right before the Stay Wild Child conversation last week. I have been, I go through phases where like I'm kind of like on my computer and then I let it go and I walk away for a while, and I kind of walked away.
Yeah.
So yeah, but so you get this deal with Zoe, and she's really incredible. And her word is allow. And
That's a good
we
word.
we put up these guards, and if we just allow,
Allow.
everything just starts to open up. So I loved that she used that word. And she actually was talking to me about grounding, and yeah, she's like, you need to do more grounding. I'm like, I know.
It's so important.
So
It is
important.
so important.
Yeah.
And calling our power back too. I tend, as an empath, and so empathic and so intuitive, because after my dad died, I was going to tell you that my brother and I realized, well, first of all, he took all his Indian stuff because I was still not in that
Weren't
spot.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now I'm like, wait, I need this stuff. I want it because you move. And he's like, okay, you're good. And I'm like, I'm golden. And he's like, okay. So I brought it all here. And he found in his attic a suitcase, And in the suitcase was a backpack. And in that backpack was this pouch. And it had these crystals in it. And Todd was like, this is not mine. Whose is this? Whose backpack is this? We realized it was my dad's. And we went, whoa. He had 2 Lemurian quartz and 1 fluorite wand. Mm-hmm. And that opened up so much that we didn't know about him, but we did. Yeah. You know, when we stop and thought about the things he taught us and the things he would say, it just like keeps clicking back, and we're like, whoa. Both of our parents were so intuitively empathic, and they raised us that way that we didn't know any different growing up. My grandpa, before I was 2, I thought I was 5 when he died. I was 2. He would constantly ask me, is it going to rain today? Because he would go play golf, and the weatherman would say it was going to rain. He would turn to me, this probably 18-month-old or, younger than that, and say, Marci, is it going to rain? And if I'd go, no, he'd go play and it wouldn't rain.
Really?
And yeah, at a young age. So it came, I think, from him even. Mm-hmm. And I forgot where I was totally going with all of that. Oh, well. Anyway.
Your dad's Indian things and all of that.
Yeah. And just being really keyed in. So it's funny because I grew up that way. And then in my dark time, I guess, it really wasn't a dark time. It was just a different learning pattern. I had to go that way to learn more, to bring worlds together.
Yes.
And it was an experience of verbiage, an experience of fear, what the human body can fear and what control can do, what tradition does, and if we just allow ourselves to live free and do those things that we've been told are not good, because if you do your research, it's not really what you once thought it was. I mean,
right.
Hollywood has turned everything so upside down, and I have to remember that even though I'm doing these things, it's not going to be, I can, watch practical magic and blow a candle and it'll light, although that would be super cool.
That'd be really cool. That'd be really, really cool.
It doesn't really happen like that. I keep hoping, but it doesn't really happen like that.
But her cool little apothecary was all cool.
Oh man, that was so cool.
I love it.
But there are things that you can do, that are against the norm, I guess, in this area. And just diving in deep and finding that within is all you need, really. And it's just opening up and learning all these different things like shamanism, and my son is really into Norse mythology, and we've been studying a lot about that and how they lived, how they believed, and oh my gosh, a bird just flew to my window. Hello. I keep saying bringing those worlds together, but it's just like, they had that story that's similar to this story, and it's incredible. It really is.
You start diving in and you find out what resonates with you. And if it resonates with you, it's learning to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, you try something, and if it resonates with you, then it's for you. And if it doesn't, then it's not for you. Or maybe it's not for you at this moment.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But don't condemn those that have decided to live a more natural or, I don't know, hippie, whatever life you want to call it,
Totally. Yeah, totally. It's just an openness. And, I found when I took the judgment off of what I thought people would think about the things that I was talking about, then when I started speaking up a little bit more, and when I started, kind of like talking on my personal social media platform a little more openly, it was very well received. It was all in my mind of what I thought the judgment would be. So it's just, it's that damn box.
Man, I'm telling you, that box.
That box.
That comparison box too. I mean, if I'm, I don't know, maybe it's just the way that things went, as we grew and learn, and we realized at this older age of 52, that it's not what we once thought. It's just so much more.
It's a midlife becoming.
I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, it's a becoming.
Really like that.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is, of course, we'll get this up on YouTube, and the link will be in Stay Wild Child. And so I want you to post your classes that you have coming up. If you still have some openings, we can open it up.
I think I have two more. I'm keeping it small for obvious reasons.
Of course.
But and during this time, it is going to be significantly discounted. They'll have to email me or message me on Facebook to get that price.
Great.
And I think I have 2 spots left. So.
Oh, wow. All right. So you're filling it up. You go, girl. Well, it was a delight talking to you, Marci, and I knew it would be, and I could tell that we were kindred spirits. And so I appreciate you joining Stay Wild Child. And guys, we will be back to you next week. Yeah, have an awesome week. All right. Bye, y'all.